This is Talk Business and Politics with Roby Brock.
Welcome to today's Talk Business and Politics. I'm Roby Brock, joined by John Brummett of the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. Good New Year to you.
Happy New Year. We missed a couple of weeks for the holidays, and I know that was tough for you.
It was tougher for the people that live and breathe John Brummett on
Well, those
camera.
people have bigger problems than that if they live and breathe for this. But we're glad to be back, aren't we?
We are.
Good.
A lot. Did you have a good holiday?
Lovely. And you?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
I watched your tree go up and come down, and
I record my life on Facebook, and I've got to stop that because it's I don't know why I do it, but I did. I just saw the whole Christmas experience shared with several thousand people that I don't know. You know,
what could go wrong?
the president does it, so I'll do it, right?
You and the president, I put you guys on the same level with your social media activity, and that's where we're going to begin.
Let's begin there. Okay.
Today, because the president apparently is now using his Twitter feed to make congressional pronouncements of declarations of war, or at least suggested declarations of war. We seem to be in a conflict with Iran that is going to escalate even further. I want you to give your assessment of what has transpired over basically the last week in this realm.
Fortunately for you, I've just written a column for tomorrow on that very point, so I'll have those thoughts readily at hand. I think the problem here is less the action than the actor. By that I mean, it's pretty bold when you assassinate a nation's general, not a direct terrorist, but a person whose nation sponsors terrorism. It's pretty bold, it's risky, but it would be, to me, an acceptable action if you accepted that our president who ordered the action had given a great deal of thought to it and had a strategic plan after that. What is concerning, when I say it's more concern about the actor than the action, is that Trump, by my reckoning, lives in a 30-second news cycle based on his own ego gratification and whim and Twitter whim. And I'm not sure that there is a plan after the action. I'm not sure he's made more than one thought about a chess move here. So, and this is, of course, a nation that is in George W. Bush's famous axis of evil, a potential nuclear threat in the most incendiary, dangerous part of the world. So you got to worry about whether the president has thought this through or whether he's acting in his own momentary 30-second news cycle. As then subsequently, as if that's not bad enough, as tensions escalate and as reports of Iran's retaliation, which are to be expected, come forth, what does the president do? He goes on Twitter and he says, I got 52 cultural sites, some of them cultural sites. And I picked 52 arbitrarily because you once took 52 American hostages, and we're going to hit those 52. And you got Democrats going, that sounds like almost like he's threatening war or even a war crime if you strike non-military sites. And then he subsequently tweets, hey, this tweet will suffice for notice to Congress. Just know I'm going to do it, and no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. The War Powers Act does not mention tweeting. It's a formal notification within 48 hours of entering armed conflict, and you cannot engage in armed conflict more than 60 days without an extension after that. You can't just put it on Twitter. So it's all very worrisome. The first guy I saw at the coffee shop this morning, is this the apocalypse? You got people are worrying about all this. So that's where we are.
Yeah, and to the Twitter declaration there, I mean, how many times have we talked to some of the elected officials that say, I just don't pay attention to his Twitter feed, or you got to dismiss his Twitter feed?
That's the standard refrain for the Trump backer. They're opening a proviso or a caveat. Now, I wish he didn't tweet the way he tweets, and I think it's best just not pay attention to that. But you look at the economy, you look at this, you look at that. Here's the president saying the tweet matters above all else. The tweet exceeds the Constitution because the Constitution gives Congress the authority to wage war, not the president. We don't have a despot. And the War Powers Act is a statute based on the constitutional authority that says, yeah, in the modern, it's a 1973 law, in the modern time, a president can take an action, But within 48, if there's something, but within 48 hours, you've got to formally notify the Congress for approval. And he's just saying, nah, all I got to do is tweet it. So Trumpian behavior has now been accelerated in a new, dangerous foreign policy context.
I think in administrations past, too, we would have looked at Congress as a checking point.
A checking point and a friend, an ally.
Or someone to put the brakes on something if there was troublesome action by an actor, as you described it earlier.
Not that it's
but
ever
that is
happened.
not. But that is not happening in this
No,
administration.
there's no reason to believe that.
We haven't seen it on anything.
No, right.
From the Republicans in
Right,
Congress.
right. History suggests that whatever he does, and however offensive to custom or law it may be, the Republicans will stand by him. So that gives him kind of despotic authority, which is very frightful, because I don't trust his long-term strategic thinking on matters like this, or on anything. I think he is a transactionalist in the moment, and that's not the way to do foreign policy, particularly in this case.
Much less nuclear
right.
Foreign policy. Right. All right, let's talk about impeachment. We saw some progression right before the holidays in terms of the impeachment vote took place. The House has decided not to send the articles of impeachment over, at least the last time that we checked. And you've got this wrangling in the Senate over what the rules may be. Can you even read a crystal ball? Are they going to have a trial without getting the articles of impeachment? Are they going to broker some deal at the last minute, and Schumer and McConnell and Pelosi say, here's what we're going to do?
No, I can't. My instinct, which I don't necessarily trust in this matter because I've been surprised by this all along, but my instinct is that status quo kind of works for everybody. Democrats don't have to lose their impeachment. They can let the impeachment hover, which would be sort of like they merely censored him, which is what I wanted them to do in the first place. The Senate doesn't have to have a trial it doesn't want to have. And Trump has the talking point that this was just a witch hunt and they wouldn't even send it over. And Pelosi has the talking point, I won't send it because they prematurely acquitted him, and that's not. And everybody has something to talk about as we go forth into the election year. That seems to work for everybody, because I think this whole impeachment thing
maybe all the players, I don't know if it works for the general public that are like, can we resolve some of this?
The general public doesn't give a darn. I don't find anybody outside the partisan players who think this amounted to anything or that it was done properly, really. By anybody. So for those purposes, I find the status quo okay. The usual horse fly in the ointment, by that I mean a big fly in the ointment, is Trump, who apparently wants a chaotic trial and acquittal, but all of which he thinks works to his benefit by making the Democrats look trivial. I think that's what he thinks. He wants to be declared essentially not guilty. So we'll see. I don't know what the crystal ball is. I know if I were in charge of it, what I would do, everybody hold your, stay in place where you are, talk your talking points, and let's get on with this presidential race, because that's what it's going to come down to anyway.
Well, let's turn to the presidential race.
Right.
The Democrats
we'll
have
some
a
smooth
busy
segues today.
Yeah. We have a busy Democratic presidential primary. We've seen some polling over the last couple of days, couple of weeks, that show there is some separation, I guess, between Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Pete Buttigieg, maybe Amy Klobuchar sneaking up there. And
a little bit.
A little bit. Michael Bloomberg, a little bit. They're showing some
Bloomberg
positive.
shows exceptional strength not to be in the race. I mean, but
right.
He's just there in case everybody wrecks in the middle of the and ties up the interstate for a while.
So it's possible that the potential Democratic presidential nominee, eventual nominee, could finish in fourth place in New Hampshire.
This is
a
strange situation. Right now, the best assessment of the race is that the person whose eventual track to the nomination seems clearest is Joe Biden. African American support, senior Democrat supports, older Democrats who are a big part of voting primaries, but not Iowa and New Hampshire, where there's scant African American vote, and where there tends to be the Democrats that are in those states tend to be independent-minded, liberal-minded, white Democrats. It is entirely possible, if the current polls were to hold, and this is all close, you got people close, Joe Biden could finish 4th in both Iowa and New Hampshire. 4th in both. Remember, in years past, Iowa's been like a big deal. Obama wins. Obama's on his way. Howard Dean loses. Howard Dean is out. You know, it's been a big identifier. Biden could be 4th, then he could go to New Hampshire and be 4th. Buttigieg could win both. He could win Iowa more likely, and Bernie Sanders. Don't forget Bernie Sanders. He's not going away. Could win New Hampshire. Then they go to the Nevada caucuses on a Saturday after that, and nobody ever pays much attention, but Sanders has caucus strength. He beat Hillary Clinton in a lot of caucuses. So we got to go all the way to South Carolina, where Joe surely is going to win with about 40 or 40+% because of the African American vote and older Democrats. Then you go to Super Tuesday, where Biden might be expected to do well because of his name ID and his national support, but where all of a sudden Bloomberg will say, I'm really running, this is serious business. These guys, none of these guys they can't beat each other, much less Trump. So
or we see some people drop out after Iowa, New Hampshire, Nevada, and you maybe see some voters go to some of the other people that have been winning.
And I did some calculations over the weekend, and the more center-left pragmatic beat Trump block is bigger than the populist left Medicare for All block. I mean, Biden, Buttigieg, Bloomberg, Klobuchar together are about 44%, whereas Sanders and Warren are about 34%. So I think there's going to be, if it comes down to that, I think there are more Democrats who will say, I'm going to go with Biden because I want to beat Trump and he looks like he's the one who can do it. So it could be one of the strangest election seasons, and we don't have any superdelegates to work all this out.
Unless it goes to a convention and there's not somebody with enough delegates to win at the convention, and then the superdelegates.
Now, there is some.
But we're getting way ahead of it.
There's worry right now among Democratic establishment that Bernie, wait a minute, if Bernie should win Iowa or finish second to Buttigieg, then wins New Hampshire, then wins the Nevada caucuses, and is raising more money than we can conventionally raise by all these actual human beings who are for him and sending him money, Sanders. I mean, the two paths to victory you can see are Biden and Sanders. Buttigieg, I just don't think so in the end. I think he's too young, and Elizabeth Warren seems to be stymied. So, yeah, it's probably Biden, but you can't exactly see how it happens.
Right.
And so that's where it is.
All right.
Is that
Anything
it?
else that we need to touch on?
Well, we could touch on any number of things, but I'll tell you, Musselman is quite the coach, isn't he? The Razorbacks
Did you want to go Razorbacks there?
Huh? No, I didn't. I just think if there's one more thing, they keep winning.
Are you on the Musk bus?
I'm about to get on it.
You're about to get on it. You bought a ticket.
He's interesting.
The door is open.
He's interesting.
You're contemplating stepping up.
The way he's just taken to the culture, and he's now just this cheerleader for all of Arkansas and having success. Now, conference road games, we shall see. But for the moment, I'd like to just make a little notice of that as a phenomenon right now here in the state.
John Brummett, devoted Razorback fan, biggest fan of Coach Musselman.
Well, in terms of physical stature, yes.
Always good to
Is
be
that
with
it?
you.
All right,
Yes,
buddy.
Sir. All right, John Brummett of the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. That is all for today's program. I'm Roby Brock. We'll see you next time.
You'll find us at the end of a lot of long country roads, covering over 60% of the great state of Arkansas. Our 17 electric distribution cooperatives are working day and night to provide reliable, affordable power to over 500,000 homes, farms, and businesses, just like yours. The Electric Cooperatives of Arkansas, your local energy partners.
Each day, the promise of our nation begins again. Arkansas and America, moving forward. I help make that promise a reality. It's not for everyone, but people everywhere depend on us.
Oh, I love you too, sweetie.
Trucking delivers, or everything stops. And that's what drives me.